Tony Selzo, welcome to the line. We're here in Boulder, Colorado. It's been a rainy kind of week here, but not stopping in the sparks that are flying here in startups of the USA, really. I mean, I know that they're trying to earn this hashtag, but I tell you, I'm seeing it. Some very cool technology companies coming out of the city, coming out of Boomtown, doing a great job here. And I've got James Lewis, who's got a company called Motocall. And mobility, I can remember I had a friend who had a tech company, and he swore he didn't need to create a mobile version of his.
Why?
He was like, nah. He's like, everything is just gonna. You just leave it on the internet, and everything else will.
What are these?
What are they gonna do? This was like 7-8 years ago. And now you really have to start mobility out, right? I mean, you have to start from the mobile side and look at what is that? How are my users going to interact with this thing? I mean, this is changing our world, and not only this is because this knows where we're at and it knows our preferences and knows everything about us, what we do, and that's really what was the genesis of what you got with Motocall.
Sure.
And so mobile enterprise application platforms. That's a big mouthful, right?
Because it's a lot to say.
When you're launching an app and you're trying to get it out, I mean, all the variables that go through all these different devices, it's crazy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you guys really take that problem head on, right? And you kind of are the hack for that. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah. When you think about mobility, obviously the phone is the first thing that comes to mind. Mm-hmm. And so you think, well, there's Android, there's Apple phones, and there's everything else. No pun intended, Windows. Windows phones also need development too, of course. So you're looking at roughly $20,000 for a simple app for just iOS that does really not very much at all. So then you multiply that for every operating system. Well, then you have to think about tablet, and then you have to think about desktop, mm-hmm. and then you have to think about, responsive. What does responsive mean? A lot of people really don't even truly understand that terminology when it comes to the website itself. Mm-hmm. Desktops and laptops of a certain resolution and screen size, mm-hmm. and when you obviously hook a large screen monitor up to your output, that's a different resonance as far as display. Mobile distribution is an entirely different strategy. Yeah. When you're looking at an app or a website on the cell phone itself, or say like an iPad, what happens is when you go to the domain, mm-hmm. you go to the website, or you're using a web service, there's a communique that says, hey, this is an iPhone 5S, mm-hmm. and this is the distribution that I need you to deploy, right. so that the user is engaging, and it obviously changes the layout severely compared mm-hmm. to what you get when you look at a laptop. You need a front end no matter what. That's how you communicate to your customers mm-hmm. about your product or your service, if you will, mm-hmm. or maybe your mobile service. But the back end, the behavior, the algorithms, the science, that's not something that's tangible to mm-hmm. a lot of my clients and customers, mm-hmm. especially in startup. And with startups and the entrepreneur is a dream and a vision that's born. And the next step is obviously execution. And a buzzword that we love in Colorado dearly, lean mm-hmm. strategy. So how do I have a great front end, an awesome website that distributes the copyright and how do I have the science? And then how do I have a mobile strategy? So there's a lot to think about from the minute you hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. What's your stack of choice? And, do you use Windows machines? Do you use mm-hmm. Apple? Mm-hmm. Which is your browser?
Right. And so all that minutia, it has to be really architected, for lack of better terms. Just kind of stealing your early thunder here, but really you have to build a best practice that has when you start as a foundation solves 95% of those problems. So you're
Definitely.
Fixing just the exceptions rather than going through the entire network and every single device and doing the break fix and how do we look on this and how do we look on that. I mean, that's what can be crazy, especially on this side where you're trying to go responsive. You're taking your clients responsive. You built a hack that allows them to solve 95% of the problems before they even open the door.
Right. One of the unfortunate realities is that a lot of people out there don't even know how to identify the core competencies that they need to be working with, mm-hmm. and where do you begin? We realized that I think in the last 5 to 10 years, with all these amazing frameworks that help web development, content focus has been lost.
Yeah.
And I beckon the call of a new dawn, where better business, better product communication between the company and the customer. In other words, I'm more interested in seeing a tweet that Tony wrote about his newest snowboard and his experience, and I'm more likely willing to go buy that snowboard after seeing that tweet versus some stale commercial about people that I don't know and I don't identify with.
Well, I mean, it's social engagement as a whole. I mean, that brings a whole nother light to shine on this. And you know, we're getting the flash for 5, and I want to make sure we kind of wrap and let our.
So how does how Acha Type will allow you to focus on your strategy and your content and save money and actually see results? I like to tell people potentially. I make no promises. But our goal is somewhere around $60,000 or less, 60 days or less, operating with a front end, back end, full-scale native mobile application in the iOS platform, in the Android, and the Windows Phone. Your shiny object, your new.
And I just want to reiterate how bold a statement that is, because what I'm seeing to do what you just said is anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000
easily,
and that's usually MVP, and that's not
minimum viable product,
right? That's usually not getting back the feedback loop, the UI. How is all those things supposed to look? Which there's a whole nother ramification for you to get through that sprint in that short amount of time. And we're talking about really lowering the bar for people that have some really incredible ideas. And I think what's intimidating for a lot of people who are non-techie, and this is the way I'd like to kind of make you comment on this close. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of traditional entrepreneurs that made their money in real estate, that made their money in this, they have ideas that need to see life, and they're intimidated by the tech side. And if you've got a partner like you guys, you can get some of that to life and see that in a way that has viability in short order.
Well, I'll tell you how it happened. Patrick Bailey, my partner, came from Continental Airlines. And when some of the execs asked for an iPhone thingy, they were very surprised when they learned that that wasn't going to work on Android and that wasn't going to work on the BlackBerry. Oh, no. So we realized a long time ago this problem would never end. Again, that comes back to people not identifying these core competencies. So my biggest thing was always offline capability. Our website, motocall.com, works offline. Simply go load the website with the signal, load all 4 of our fixed navigation buttons, they're called, the home button. Turn off your signal and you'll see our website work. We have the same magic trick with our apps. Imagine that you're putting our software in your database on your website. You're in control. You use one language, HTML5. You write the apps the way you want. They work on your database. It's your content. You have control.
And if the phone is up, the app works. I mean, that's a hack right there. Especially if you're doing time punch-ins on a remote Salesforce or a remote tech field. Especially if you have to collect the data and you can't depend on the signal.
Especially when it's time sensitive,
right?
Because that's what's great about how databases and MySQL and the internet works is that the timestamp is made. If the phone's operating, it's going to tell you what time this data was annotated, and so the employee is safeguarded. If he goes into a big tower building, he's working in Manhattan and he loses signal. These are issues that are very, very big concerns on an enterprise level. So we heard that call and we answered it. We not only answered it, but we found a way to have licensing issues, a situation that's very rare. We have a give back. Let me give you a very simple scenario. In a small company, an entrepreneurial IT startup, 10 people, $600 a year for the licensing if you're doing the work yourself. Obviously, we have the capability and staff to build you anything you want, but that's not really what the goal of Acha Type is it? The goal is to put the power into our clients' hands and get them building.
It really is the new CMS. I mean, that is,
all mobile.
Right. It's allowing the business to achieve the business's goals without creating technology barriers between that.
And don't forget Google. Their announcement, they're grading purely on mobile. So if your front end doesn't look responsive, and I'm not putting down the efforts of a lot of startups in the community trying to be lean, but some of these cellular wrappers and some of these products that are too much of a hack, that's dangerous too.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.